From the very first time I sat with Julia at lunch, I noticed the way she smiled at everyone, but there was something off. It felt like her smile was a mask, hiding something beneath. I watched her gossip about other kids, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was just waiting to turn on me too. I wanted to believe she was my friend, but the little whispers I heard made my stomach twist. As days turned into weeks, I started to see the lies she spun around us. It felt like a storm was brewing, and I was standing right in the middle of it. How could I have known that meeting Julia would flip my world upside down? I was just trying to fit in at my new school when I saw her on a park bench, laughing with her friends. She looked so confident and happy. I thought, maybe we could be friends. I didn't know things would get complicated. Julia loved to talk about her past. She often mentioned her ex, Mark, and how much he hurt her. At first, I felt sorry for her and wanted to help, but as we hung out more, I noticed something was off. She whispered lies about other people, and it made my stomach twist. I started to wonder if I could trust her. One night, while we were sitting on the swings, she said, "I've been hurt before." That's when I felt a chill. Underneath her fun personality, there was something dark. I wanted to be there for her, but her behavior was confusing. It felt like I was walking on thin ice, and every little step made me doubt her. I thought we were friends, but I wasn't so sure anymore. Julia would cling to me, but push everyone else away. Was I just a pawn in her game? I needed to figure it out, but trusting her felt impossible. The excitement I once felt faded into fear, and I wanted to escape. Then one day, I caught her in a lie. "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped, her eyes narrowing. My heart raced. "You said you were done with Mark," I shot back. She clenched her fists, and a storm brewed in her eyes. "You don't understand anything." I thought I found a true friend in Julia, but I was wrong. The shiny friendship I imagined started to crack, and soon I saw her real side. What felt like support turned into a tangled mess of lies. I felt my stomach drop when I discovered her secret plans. Every time she smiled, I wondered if she was pretending just to trick me. It hurt to realize that her sad stories were fake. She wore a mask, playing the victim to get my pity. It felt like I was stuck in a toxic game. I started to question everything. Was she being real, or was this just another trick? As I pulled away, things got tense. Julia held on tighter, using guilt to keep me close. But I knew there was danger. I watched her whisper lies about others, changing the truth to fit her needs. I was in a storm of betrayal, and it scared me. "I can't do this anymore, Julia," I finally said, my heart racing. "Don't be silly. We're friends," she shot back, her eyes narrowing. I wanted to believe we were friends, but it felt shaky, like a tightrope ready to snap. Each new lie hit me hard. I knew I'd to face her. I needed to break free from this toxic mess and take back my strength. "Why do you keep lying?" I asked, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Her smile faded, replaced by a cold glare. "You wouldn't understand. It's survival." As I hung out with Julia, I started to see the sneaky signs of manipulation. At first, I thought they were just her being quirky, but soon I couldn't ignore them. Julia had this way of twisting my words and making me feel bad for stuff I never did. It felt like her words were shadows, creeping into our chats. "If you really cared about me, you'd understand," she'd say. And suddenly, I was questioning everything about how I felt. Then I noticed her emotional games weren't just mean. They were about keeping me right where she wanted me. She'd create drama, turning friends against each other while acting like she was the innocent one. I saw her play the victim, tugging at my heart while spreading lies about anyone who disagreed with her. It felt like I was suffocating. Whenever I tried to share my worries, Julia would brush me off, saying I was overreacting or being too sensitive. I felt trapped in her web, stuck and desperate to escape. Her charm hid the darkness inside, making it easy for me to ignore my unease. Every time I caught her lying, she'd twist it, making me doubt my own sanity. I felt a chill run down my spine as I started to see through Julia's words. At first, her stories seemed real, like a warm blanket of trust. But then, the truth hit me like a punch. Julia wasn't just a friend, she was a master liar, weaving a web of deceit that left me questioning everything. "Did you hear what she said? About me?" Julia whispered, her eyes twinkling with mischief. I nodded, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. She was pitting friends against each other, all while acting like a sweet angel. I watched in shock as she twisted the truth, breaking bonds like they were made of glass. "Why are you doing this?" I finally asked, my voice shaking. Julia smirked, her charm fading away to reveal something colder. "Because I can," she replied, her words slicing through the air. I felt like a pawn in her sick game, and the stakes kept getting higher. Every time I thought I could trust her, she'd pull the rug out from under me. I felt trapped in a friendship that was nothing but a calculated trap. My heart raced, knowing I'd to escape her grasp. But how? How could I expose her lies without losing everything I cared about? "I can't let you control me anymore," I declared, determination bubbling inside me. My heart raced as I spotted Julia sitting alone in the park. I knew it was time to confront her. The lies she spread were like a tangled web, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. I took a deep breath, ready to face the truth that could change everything. "Julia," I said, my voice firm, "we need to talk." She looked up, surprise mixed with defiance in her eyes. Anger bubbled inside me. It was time to tackle her manipulation directly. "I know what you've been saying about me, and it's not okay." Her face changed for a moment, but then she smirked. "You think you can just come here and throw accusations at me?" she shot back. I pressed on, feeling the sting of betrayal. "You've twisted stories and hurt people. I won't let you get away with it anymore." As I laid out the proof of her lies, I watched her closely. The confidence began to fade from her face. Each truth hit her like a punch. "I'm done being your pawn, Julia," I declared, my voice loud and clear. "You can't control me anymore." I never thought I'd get caught in such a wild mess. My feelings for Julia were all twisted up. At first, she was like a fresh breeze, full of laughs and energy. But then, things changed. I started to notice her sneaky ways. She whispered lies and stirred trouble, making me question who she really was. When I found out Julia had threatened my friend, my heart raced with anger and fear. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore her darker side anymore. It felt like I was stuck in a dangerous game I never wanted to play. The more I saw, the more I wished I could run away. It was painful to see someone I cared about turn into a stranger. I tried to distance myself from Julia, but she pulled me back in. "You're my best friend," she'd say, and I wanted to trust her. But deep down, I knew I'd to watch out for myself. I felt torn, caught between being loyal and wanting to break free. Then, everything exploded. The truth came out, and I felt a mix of relief and fear. I was ready to face the real Julia, but I didn't know if I could walk away without getting hurt. Betrayal hung heavy in the air, and I knew I'd to find my way out of this storm. "Mark, don't leave me!" Julia cried, desperation in her voice. "I can't stay, Julia. You've changed. This isn't who you are," I replied, my voice steady, but my heart pounding. As I turned to go, I felt her icy grip on my arm. "You're making a mistake," she whispered, her eyes dark with anger. I took a deep breath and pulled away. The moment I turned my back on Julia, clarity hit me like a cold splash of water. I'd finally escaped a friendship that felt more like a trap. Julia loved to twist things around, making me doubt my own feelings. Every time I tried to speak up, she'd turn it into a big drama. But now, as I walked away, I could see how much her lies had messed with my head. It hurt to realize how deep the betrayal ran. Anger bubbled inside me, but beneath it, I felt a tiny spark of strength. This was my moment to discover who I really was. I deserved better than the mess Julia had created in my life. "Why did I let her control me?" I muttered, shaking my head. I knew I'd to face the truth. Julia thrived on chaos, and it was exhausting. Her toxic games felt like a heavy weight on my shoulders. But now, I was free. I knew that growth often comes through painful lessons, and saying no to toxic friends was a big step forward. As I moved away from her, flashes of betrayal played, in my mind, like a movie. "I won't let anyone play with my heart again," I promised myself. I'd trust my gut from now on and choose people who lifted me up, not dragged me down. Leaving Julia wasn't just about escaping her darkness, it was about stepping into my own light. As Julia's lies wrapped around me tighter and tighter, I knew I was in a dangerous game. The stakes were high, and I'd walked right into her trap. What I thought was a friendship felt more like a battlefield, with Julia using emotional tricks to keep control over me. "Are you really going to believe them over me?" she'd say, her voice sweet like honey, but I felt the sting of her words. I started to see how she twisted everything, turning friends against one another. Each time she spoke, I felt a chill. Was this really my friend? I felt trapped, like a pawn in her game. "You can trust me," she'd whisper, pulling me back in with her fake promises. My head spun with confusion. Was I imagining things, or was she really that cruel? I needed a way out, but how could I expose her without putting myself in her crosshairs? Had to think fast. "I won't let you win," I promised myself. I started collecting proof of her lies, not just for me, but for everyone she'd tricked. I was ready to turn the tables, to show everyone who the real Julia was. Caught in Julia's storm of jealousy, the tension between us grew as I got closer. To Mark. Every time we laughed or shared a moment, I could feel Julia's anger burning like fire. I never wanted to be a part of this messy love triangle, but I felt drawn to Mark. I wanted to help him escape from Julia's cruel grip, but that meant risking my friendship with her. "Why are you hanging out with him?" Julia snapped one day, her eyes shooting daggers at me. I tried to explain, "I just want to be there for him. He needs support." But it felt like I was lying. I was only trying to find comfort in someone who understood the hurt Julia caused. Things shifted quickly. One minute, Julia would smile and act friendly, and the next, she'd tear into me, spreading nasty rumors to anyone who'd listen. "You think you're better than me," she'd hiss. I felt betrayed and trapped, wondering if I'd ever break free from her hold. Mark noticed the tension too. I could see the doubt in his eyes whenever Julia made a mean comment. "I don't know if we can keep doing this," he said one evening, worry etched on his face. My heart raced. I wanted to stand by Mark, but I feared losing all I'd with Julia. This love battle was heating up. I was stuck right in the middle, torn between two worlds. I'd to make a choice, and time was running out. Julia's true colors were coming out, and the air between us felt heavy. I could sense her jealousy simmering, just below the surface, turning our friendship sour. She watched me with Mark like I was a rival, not a friend. Her words became sharp, like daggers, meant to hurt and confuse. Compliments felt empty, and I could see the trust slipping away. I tried to set boundaries, but Julia ignored them, desperate to stay in control. Her actions left me dizzy, caught in a storm of confusion and pain. It felt like I was walking on thin ice, scared of what she might do next. As our conflict grew, I knew it wasn't just about us anymore. Julia's jealousy could hurt everyone around us, spreading negativity everywhere. I wanted to keep my head high, but her tricks were testing my strength. I thought about confronting her, to show everyone the truth. But with each day, the feeling of betrayal weighed me down. I'd to be strong, but the fear of losing Mark and myself made it hard to sleep. "Why can't you just be happy for me, Julia?" I asked one day, trying to get through to her. "Happy? You think I want to cheer for someone who's stealing my spotlight?" She shot back, her voice sharp. I felt my heart race as I realized how twisted things had become. I'd to make a choice, stand up to Julia or let her pull me into her dark world of jealousy and manipulation. I felt the weight of betrayal pressing down on me like a heavy stone. Julia's lies couldn't go on any longer. I'd to act. Gathering evidence became my mission. I watched her closely, taking notes on everything she said and did. I filled up a notebook with dates, conversations, and the sneaky tricks I caught her using. Each note was a step toward getting my power back. I also talked to others who'd been hurt by her. They shared their stories, showing me I wasn't alone. This wasn't just about me. I was uncovering a pattern of deceit. I needed proof. Something I could show my friends to reveal the real Julia. Whenever I confronted her, she twisted my words, making me second-guess myself. But I clung to my notes. I recorded her phone calls with Mark, capturing her threats and nasty plans. It felt dangerous, but I had to do it. I was on a mission to expose the truth. As I collected more evidence, I felt stronger. My fear turned into determination. I was no longer just a pawn in her game, I was becoming the player. With each piece of evidence, I felt the tide turning. The truth was my weapon, and I was ready to use it. Julia's mask would fall, and I'd walk away with my dignity. "Why do you keep lying, Julia?" I asked one day, my voice steady. She smirked. "You can't handle the truth." I shook my head. "No, you can't handle being caught." As I got ready to face Julia, a strong feeling hit me. The truth was powerful. It wasn't just about showing her lies, it was about getting my strength back. I realized how the balance of power had changed. Julia thought she could control me with her charm and tricks, but I wasn't going to let her keep winning. When I stood up to her, I felt a rush of strength. I'd been hurt and confused, but now I was fired up. I was ready to show everyone who Julia really was. The fear that had held me back started to disappear. I knew that the truth would cut through the lies like a sharp knife. "I know what you've been doing, Julia," I shouted, my voice steady. The look on her face was priceless. Shock turned to fear as I unraveled her web of deceit. "You thought you could play me, but I'm not just some pawn in your game." With each word, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. I could see the panic in her eyes. This time, I was the one in control. The truth became my weapon, guarding me from her tricks. As my words filled the room, I realized how strong I'd become. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one holding the cards. "You can't manipulate me anymore, Julia. I see you for who you really are," I declared, my heart pounding, but my resolve solid. I turned away, not just with my pride intact, but with a new strength. The moment I decided to confront Julia, I knew I'd to act fast. I couldn't just walk up to her without a plan. I spent days collecting proof of her lies, like fitting pieces into a dangerous puzzle. Each text message and rumor cut me deep. This wasn't just about telling the truth, it was about getting my life back. I imagined the big reveal, the look on her face when I dropped the bomb. I could almost hear my friends gasping. Would they finally see Julia's true colors? I wanted them to feel the betrayal I felt, the way she twisted our friendship into something ugly. I planned the gathering carefully. It needed to seem casual, but I'd to keep the tension high. I wanted everyone there when I exposed her. I practiced what I'd say, making sure I wouldn't stumble. No more fear. This was my moment to break free. As the day drew closer, excitement mixed with fear. I was ready to reclaim my life and show everyone the shadow lurking behind Julia's smile. Just thinking about it sparked a flicker of hope in me. Finally, the truth would shine through. "Hey, everyone!" I called out at the gathering, heart racing. "Can we talk about Julia?" Gasps filled the room, and I knew I was finally taking back control. My heart raced as I stepped into the room. Laughter and chatter filled the air, but I felt heavy inside. My friends were all there, chatting happily, unaware of the storm brewing within me. I glanced around and spotted Julia. She wore a confident smile, but I knew what lay behind it. Tonight was the night I'd reveal the truth. I'd planned this carefully. Julia wasn't the sweet friend everyone thought she was. She'd twisted our friendship with her lies and had hurt so many people. I inhaled deeply, determined to expose her. When it felt right, I stood up, my heart pounding. "Can I have your attention?" I called out, my voice steady. The noise faded, and suddenly all eyes were on me. "Julia isn't who she pretends to be," I blurted out. I didn't hold back. I told them everything, how she whispered lies about me, how she threatened Mark, and how she spun stories to keep us all confused. Each word felt freeing. Julia's face changed. The confident mask slipped away. I could see panic in her eyes as I spoke. The truth was out now, and I felt powerful. I was taking back my life in front of everyone who mattered. The room was silent, shocked. I looked at my friends, their expressions shifting from confusion to disbelief. "This is who Julia really is," I insisted, pointing at her. "She's been lying to all of us." Julia shot up from her seat, anger flashing in her eyes. "You don't know what you're talking about," she yelled, but I could see her facade cracking. "I know exactly what I'm talking about," I snapped back. "You've been manipulating us all for too long," my friends whispered amongst themselves, glancing between us. I could feel the tension rising. "You're just jealous," Julia screamed, but her voice wavered. "No, I'm not," I retorted. "I just want everyone to see the real you." With my heart racing, I stood in front of Julia, ready to uncover the secrets she'd kept hidden for too long. The air crackled with tension. I'd to confront her about the lies that tore our friendship apart. "Julia, it's time to tell the truth," I said, my voice firm. I could see her confidence start to fade. I laid out how she twisted everything, turning friends against one another. "You've played the victim for too long," I shouted, my words hanging heavy between us. I watched her face change as the truth hit her. This wasn't just about me. It was about everyone she'd hurt. I was tearing down the lies that had let her control everyone around her. The truth was my weapon, and I was ready to use it. I felt lighter as her secrets unraveled. "I won't be your pawn anymore," I declared, feeling stronger with every word. I saw fear flicker in her eyes, but I was done being scared. I was taking back my story. I stood there, my heart pounding. Everyone's eyes were on me, waiting. This was it. I was finally going to expose Julia. For weeks, I'd felt lost, unsure of whom to trust. But now, I was ready to face my fears. "Julia has been lying to all of us," I shouted, my voice cutting through the silence. Gasps echoed in the room. Friends glanced at each other, their faces twisted in confusion and shock. I pressed on, sharing how Julia had manipulated everyone, including me. I felt strong for the first time. The air crackled with tension. I could see it in their eyes. They were starting to see the truth. "You think she cares about you?" I challenged, my voice steady. "She only cares about herself." Each word felt like a weapon against the toxic friendship that had drained me. Julia's face turned pale. "You don't know what you're talking about," she yelled, but I wasn't backing down. I'd to be brave. I was fighting for myself and everyone she'd hurt. As her lies fell apart, I felt both sadness and relief. I'd trusted her, but the truth was stronger. "I'm done," I declared, shaking my head. With every secret I revealed, I took back a piece of myself. I wouldn't be a victim anymore. I thought I was ready for my friends to be mad, but their shock hit me like a punch. When I spilled Julia's dark secrets, the room went silent. Eyes widened, jaws dropped. Everyone was stunned. It was like I'd thrown a bomb in our friendship circle. "Did you really just say that?" Sam finally broke the silence, his voice shaky. I could see the wheels turning in everyone's heads. Some friends stepped up, giving me nods of approval, which felt good, but others. They backed away, looking confused and unsure. It was like a game of tug-of-war, and I was stuck in the middle. "Are you sure you're not lying?" whispered Mia, her eyes darting around as if searching for support. My heart sank. Doubt was creeping in, and I knew I'd opened a nasty can of worms. The whispers started, and I felt like I was on trial for a crime I didn't commit. As the days dragged on, I was on an emotional roller coaster. Some friends reached out, eager to talk it through and fix things. "Let's sort this out together," said Jake, trying to lighten the mood. I appreciated it, but it was hard to ignore the others who pulled away, unsure of where they stood. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach dropped. Would it be someone reaching out or another friend saying goodbye? I felt like I was on shaky ground, but I'd made my choice and stood firm. Julia's secrets had to be exposed, even if it cost me everything. In the end, I realized I'd to face this storm. It was messy and painful, but I was ready to confront whatever came next. I felt stronger, bolder, even if it meant reshaping my friendships forever. This was my truth, and I was ready to fight for it. As I stood there, ready to spill Julia's secrets, my heart raced. I knew once I did, everything would change. Friends I thought I could trust began to drift away, unsure who to believe. It felt like a storm was raging inside me, with confusion and doubt swirling everywhere. "Why would you do this?" Jake shouted, his eyes blazing with anger. I had to. She was lying to all of us. I shot back, my voice trembling. The fallout was quick. I felt like I was in a whirlwind, trying to navigate friendships that now felt like quicksand. I was angry, hurt, and lost all at once. I needed to figure things out. I took a deep breath and thought, I can't let Julia's mess define me. I needed to find my own strength. It wasn't about revenge, it was about standing tall and setting clear boundaries. I learned that facing tough times could help me build trust again, this time with myself. Look, I'm sorry for how things turned out, I told Sarah, who'd always been my rock. I just wanted to be honest. It's okay, she replied softly, her eyes filled with understanding. But you need to forgive yourself, too. Finding closure didn't happen overnight. I'd to let go of the guilt for being fooled and for the choices I made. I couldn't change what happened, but I could change where I was heading. I reached out to friends who still believed in me. One by one, I rebuilt my life, starting with real conversations. Can we talk? I asked Jake, hoping to mend things. Yeah, we need to clear the air, he said, his voice calmer now. Through each honest conversation, I felt stronger. I was no longer just trying to survive, I was thriving. How could Mark look so lost after everything I just told him? I stood there, heart racing, as his face changed from confused to shocked. I'd just revealed Julia's lies, her nasty tricks, and he looked like he didn't know what to think. I wanted to grab him and shout, "Wake up! The person you care about isn't who you think she is." Mark's confusion was clear. I could see him battling inside. Did he want to trust me, or was he still holding on to Julia's lies? I remembered how she twisted everything, turning him against his friends, against me. Her charm had him wrapped up tight, and now, with the truth laid out, he was stuck in a whirlwind of doubt. "Is this true?" he finally asked, his voice shaky. I nodded, feeling the weight of my words. It felt strange to lay her secrets bare like this. I noticed doubt creeping into his eyes, and it hurt. I wanted to scream that I was telling the truth, that Julia had hurt us both, but I couldn't make him see her for who she really was. Mark's confusion filled the room. I could feel the tension, but I stood tall. Julia had been lying, and I just spilled her secrets. Finally, I saw the truth shining through the chaos. It was time to walk away strong. "Listen, everyone," I shouted, my voice steady. "I'm not a victim anymore. Julia tried to control me, but I'm done." I took a deep breath, grounding myself. This was a turning point. I remembered all the tough times I'd faced before. I wouldn't let this be different. With each word, I felt the weight of betrayal lift. I looked around and saw my friend's eyes widen with understanding. I was in charge of my story now. Julia's lies couldn't trap me anymore. "Just so you know, Julia," I said, my voice firm, "I won't let you manipulate me again." I turned to leave, and a wave of freedom washed over me. I felt lighter, free from the toxic ties that had held me down. I'd stepped away from the storm, standing up for myself. "I'm not your pawn," I shouted back, feeling the strength grow inside me. I was a survivor, ready to open a new chapter in my life. No one would dim my light again. As I walked out, I smiled. I was done with heartbreak and drama. This was my moment, and I was ready for whatever came next. What does it take to get your dignity back after everything goes wrong? First, you have to see your own worth. I felt tiny and trapped by Julia's lies, but I refused to let her control my life. I knew I'd to face the truth about myself. I told myself, I am not a victim. I'm strong. I deserve better. Next, I took action. I decided to fight back. I spoke out loud, sharing what Julia had done, exposing her secrets to everyone. As I stood in front of my friends, I felt a rush of power. I wasn't just telling them her lies, I was taking back my story. Each word was a promise to myself that I wouldn't be quiet anymore. The fear that had weighed me down began to fade. I realized dignity isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. I found friends who lifted me up, who helped me see my own value. Slowly, I felt lighter, free from the hurt Julia caused. I never thought I'd learn so much from my wild friendship with Julia, but it changed me in ways I didn't expect. I discovered the ugly truth about friendships. Some aren't built on trust. They're like a game of chess, full of manipulation and deceit. A friendly smile can hide a person's true intentions, and I learned to keep my guard up. When Julia betrayed me, it felt like the ground dropped from under my feet. But instead of crumbling, I found a strength inside me I didn't know I had. I faced my fears head-on and refused to let her lies define me. I learned to trust my gut, even when it screamed at me to escape. Confronting Julia was tough. I'd to accept my own truth, and that felt powerful. I realized that standing up for myself not only protected me, but could also inspire others to do the same. I understood that recognizing a toxic friendship and cutting ties is a form of self-love. I discovered that being vulnerable can actually be a strength. When I shared my story, I found others who'd been through similar battles. I realized I wasn't alone. These lessons made me value real friends, people who lift you up and have your back. As I thought about Julia, I realized betrayal hurt more than I expected. When I found out she was lying, it felt like a heavy weight on my chest. Trust, which I thought was strong, shattered like glass. I'd let Julia into my life, and all she gave me was deceit. It was a tough lesson. Betrayal leaves marks that last. I replayed our good times in my head. The laughter that once felt real now turned sour. Each secret she told and every rumor she spread cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Those betrayal marks on my heart reminded me of how easily I'd trusted her. I learned that not everyone is who they seem. Julia looked like a friend, but hid jealousy and revenge behind a smile. As I pulled away from her, I felt both relief and sadness. I'd to face the truth. Not everyone has good intentions. The friendships I once loved turned bitter. It was draining. This hurt taught me to guard my heart. In the end, I walked away with my pride, but a sense of loss shadowed me. Betrayal came at a steep price. Now I'd to gather the pieces, wiser but still hurting. I whispered to myself, never again. Emerging from the shadows of betrayal, I took a deep breath. It was time to take back my strength. I'd been tricked and hurt, but I wouldn't let that control me anymore. I was ready to change and grow. I can do this, I whispered to myself as I started my healing journey. I dug deep, searching for the tough spirit hiding inside me. It was there, waiting to wake up. Obstacles came at me like a storm. "You think you can break me?" I shouted at the challenges. Each one helped me build my inner strength. I learned that taking back my power wasn't about revenge. It was about standing tall and refusing to be a victim. I made boundaries, keeping toxic people away. No more traps for me. With every step I took, I felt lighter. "This strength is mine," I said, smiling. I'd faced the storm and come out stronger. My heart, once heavy with betrayal, now beat with purpose. Remember, healing isn't a straight line, I reminded myself. It's okay to stumble. What mattered was my determination to keep going. Each day I focused on myself, promising I wouldn't let anyone take my strength again. "Bring it on," I yelled into the world, ready for whatever came next. I was free, and I'd face it all with courage and resolve.